Steve Torapov. Torapov, everybody. Thank you.
Thing's fucking heavy. All right, so, I actually come from Boston. I'm not from around here. I come from Massachusetts, not Ohio, despite what the shirt says. But, you might not think that when you first meet me. I don't have, the traditional Boston accent. I don't say, park the car and Harvard Yard. And, you might not expect it, but that actually gave me a lot of trouble as a kid. Because kids in Boston don't like R's just on principle. And so you start using the letter R around them, and suddenly they're all like, what's that letter he keeps using? I don't understand it. I don't understand what he's saying. We better just beat the shit out of him until he starts talking right. So yeah, as you can imagine, being on the playground and saying the word playground was fun. But Boston has got a lot of play recently in movies. It's, the place where all the gangster movies are set, and I don't mind that, honestly, because it gives me a bit of street cred, I come from the hood. I don't, but I like telling people that because it makes me seem a little bit less of a big, fat, white guy. But one of my favorite gangster movies set in Boston is Boondock Saints. I love the hell out of Boondock Saints because it's all about, we're going to go kill all the bad guys, and we're going to do it while saying an awesome prayer, and it's going to be fucking ridiculous. And William Dafoe's going to wear a skirt for no apparent reason. But I have one very particular problem with that movie, and it hurts my soul to say it. But the accents in that movie are ridiculous. And only in one very specific case. With one word, they fuck up that movie with that accent. And that word is fuck. Because if you have ever been to Boston, you will notice the one word people don't mess up is fuck, F-U-C-K. In that movie, however, everybody with a Boston accent apparently says feck. I don't understand where they got this idea of feck. What the fuck is feck? I don't understand what feck is supposed to mean. Explain this to me. I mean, if there was one word in the English language that the average Southeast Street tough could walk over to Ellis Hall over there, the English building, and do a lecture on the syntax and uses and history of, it's fuck. That's the word. They would not mess up. The word fuck is so central to Southie culture that if you were to mispronounce it, if you were to actually say feck in South Boston, you would have to go into church the next day and say, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." "What is your sin, my child?" I have blasphemed against man and God. I said the word feck instead of the word fuck when I was talking to Billy yesterday. "My child, I have never heard of such an outrageous blasphemy. You'll have to do Hail Marys for the rest of the fucking day." So, there's that. But, truthfully, I enjoy playing with accents. They're fun, and they're distinctive. And I enjoy trying to make up accents. The Scottish accent is fun to do. But one of my absolute favorites is Irish accents because I know the trigger word for Irish accents. Accent work, if you've ever heard this concept, it's the idea that you have a trigger word, a word you can say that will initiate all the sounds in an accent and get you into the accent pretty easily. They do it for acting and stuff. And the trigger word for Irish accents is tuberculosis. So you say the word tuberculosis and suddenly you're automatically in an Irish accent. You don't even have to try. You're suddenly talking like you're from Blarney and you're going to go kiss the stone or something. Problem is that unless you work the word tuberculosis into conversation, you slowly fall out of the accent. So as you can imagine, this can have some awkward conversations because, you're talking to somebody's sick grandmother. You're trying to, wish them well, but all you can think of is, I have to work the word tuberculosis into the conversation. I have to say at some point, I hope you get tuberculosis, Grandma, just because I can't give up the accent. Sometimes it can be fun, though. But yeah, so that's my thing on accents, and that's all I got there. Thanks. You've been a great audience.